Ethan, a human explorer, jokingly tells his friends he's single while visiting a mysterious alien planet known for its strict royal customs. Suddenly, a portal opens and he is swept into the AlienQueen's palace. The Queen's twin daughters, Lyra and Luma, hear his words and become inexplicably attached to him, clinging to him in curiosity and surprise. Ethan tries to understand why the twins are so fascinated by him. The palace is filled with strange technology and creatures. The twins' behavior starts attracting the attention of the AlienQueen herself. She examines Ethan closely, testing his reactions and intentions. The palace staff and other aliens warn Ethan that humans rarely survive long on this planet. Ethan realizes that what he thought was a harmless joke might have huge consequences. Meanwhile, the twins keep following him everywhere, displaying strange powers that react to his emotions. Ethan learns that the twins' attachment is more than emotional. It is genetically linked to the future of the alien royal line. The Queen is planning a test. If Ethan fails, he could be forced to leave or worse, trapped on the planet. Welcome to my channel Sci-Fi Love Story. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. Ethan laughed nervously as he looked around the alien marketplace and said jokingly, "I am single." And for a moment he thought the aliens around him were ignoring his joke. But suddenly, a soft light glimmered in the air, and before he could react, a portal opened beneath him, and he fell through the air, landing on a smooth, glowing floor. His heart raced as he looked up, and saw a palace unlike anything he had ever seen. Towers of crystal spiraled into the sky, and walls shimmered with colors he couldn't name before. He could gather his thoughts. Two small figures ran toward him, the Queen's twin daughters Lyra and Luma, their eyes large and glowing with a strange light. And before Ethan could speak, they clung to him tightly, wrapping their tiny hands around his arms. He tried to pull away gently, but they held on with a grip that surprised him. Their laughter was musical, but there was something in their eyes that made him feel uneasy yet strangely protective. The palace doors opened, and a figure emerged, tall, regal, and imposing. The AlienQueen walked toward him, her eyes sharp and curious. She studied Ethan as if she could see through his thoughts, and a hush fell over the room. Even the twins quieted their laughter and looked up at her silently. Ethan stammered, trying to explain that he had only been joking, but the twins only hugged him tighter and whispered words he could not understand. His heart raced, and he felt the weight of the moment crushing, yet exhilarating. The Queen circled him slowly, her gaze unwavering. She asked questions in a language he didn't understand, but the twins translated softly, their voices blending as one, guiding him through the conversation. Ethan realized that this was more than curiosity. The twins had chosen him for reasons he could not fathom. He had spent his life exploring unknown worlds, but nothing prepared him for this moment, a human caught in the heart of alien royalty and their mysterious daughters. The palace staff whispered warnings to him. Humans rarely survived long in these halls, and yet he felt a strange sense of belonging, as if fate itself had pulled him here. The twins led him to a large hall filled with alien technology and glowing symbols. Ethan touched the panels carefully, trying to understand their purpose, and the twins giggled, showing him which ones were safe. Their laughter eased some of his fear, and he began to wonder if maybe his joke had triggered something ancient and powerful, something linked to the destiny of this planet. The Queen watched silently from the balcony, her eyes sharp and calculating. She allowed Ethan to explore the palace for a while, testing his reactions, watching how he treated the twins and the staff. He discovered that the twins had powers he had never imagined. They could make objects float and communicate silently through thoughts. Ethan was amazed, but also fearful. He did not know what rules governed these powers, or if he could survive their influence. The palace garden was next. The twins dragged him through corridors lined with flowers that shimmered and leaves that whispered secrets. The twins smiled up at him, and Ethan realized that their attachment was growing stronger with every step, every laugh, every whispered word. He felt a pull toward them that was both thrilling and terrifying. He wondered if this was the beginning of something far larger than he could ever imagine. The Queen finally spoke through the twins, warning him that attachment to humans was rare and dangerous. She tested Ethan further, asking riddles and placing objects in his path that he had to understand intuitively. He stumbled at first, but slowly he began to understand that the twins were guiding him not just physically, but emotionally. They wanted to see if he could handle responsibility, if he could navigate their world without fear or arrogance. As the day passed, the palace changed in tone, shadows lengthened, and a sense of urgency filled the air. Ethan realized that being chosen by the twins was not just an honor. It was a test of his courage and intelligence. He had to prove that he could survive the challenges ahead, and that he would protect them from dangers he could not yet see. Night fell, and the palace glowed under alien moons. The twins sat beside him, their heads resting lightly on his shoulders, They whispered stories of their childhood, their fears, their hopes, and Ethan listened, feeling a connection he had never experienced with any human or alien. The Queen observed silently. But Ethan sensed approval in her eyes. She was testing him not with force, but with patience and observation. The twins guided him to a chamber filled with light and crystal. The walls pulsed softly. As if alive, the Queen explained through the twins that a ritual of bonding would soon take place. Ethan felt his heart pound in his chest. He did not fully understand what the ritual involved, but he knew it was crucial. He would have to prove himself worthy in front of the entire court. The twins clung to him even more tightly, their trust evident in every movement, every glance they shared. Their hands were warm, and their presence comforting. Ethan realized that the bond he was forming was deep and powerful beyond anything he had imagined. He had traveled across stars and faced dangers, but nothing compared to the emotional and mental challenge he faced here. The palace seemed alive, responding to the twins' emotions and Ethan's own fear and curiosity. Every step he took through the halls echoed with light and sound. The palace seemed to hum with anticipation. He felt a thrill mixed with anxiety. He had to succeed not just for himself, but for the twins, for the Queen, and perhaps for the future of this alien world. As he prepared for the ritual, the palace doors opened again, and attendants carried strange artifacts and symbols of power. The twins guided Ethan to the center of the chamber, showing him where to stand, how to move, and what to focus on. He followed their instructions carefully, his mind racing with questions, and his heart filled with determination. The Queen's presence loomed over the room, her gaze heavy, but approving. Ethan knew that failure was not an option. Prove his worth and understand the true purpose of the twins' attachment. The air shimmered with energy as the ritual began. The twins' hands glowed softly, and they whispered encouragement in a language he could barely understand. Yet somehow he felt every word in his heart. He closed his eyes, focused on their voices and the palace around him, and took his first step into a world that was far larger and more dangerous than he had ever imagined. The energy in the room grew stronger, the walls pulsed faster, the light around the crystals intensified, and Ethan felt himself being pulled into a connection he could not resist. The twins held onto him firmly, as if guiding him through a storm. He felt courage rise inside him, and a strange, calm confidence he had never known before. The ritual tested him physically, mentally, and emotionally. The twins' powers intertwined with his thoughts, challenging him to remain focused and compassionate. He had to act quickly and wisely to succeed. He made choices based on instinct and empathy, relying on the twins' guidance and his own judgment. Every step brought him closer to understanding the depth of the bond they shared and the responsibilities that came with it. The Queen watched silently from above, her eyes sharp and approving. She did not interfere, yet her presence reminded Ethan of the stakes. The twins whispered to him, constantly urging him to believe in himself, to trust his instincts, to protect them. And in that moment, Ethan realized that being chosen by the AlienQueen's daughters was a challenge and a gift unlike anything he had ever faced. The room shimmered with energy, the ritual grew more intense, and Ethan felt the weight of the palace and the twins' expectations pressing upon him. He had to succeed for himself, for them, and for the world. He had stepped into a destiny far beyond his understanding, yet thrilling and terrifying all at once. The ritual continued, and Ethan felt himself becoming part of the palace, part of the twins' world, part of a story that would change his life forever. As part one ended, the twins clung to him tightly, their eyes bright and trusting, and Ethan understood that he had survived the first challenge, but the true adventure had only just begun. Ethan woke to the soft glow of the alien chamber, the twins still clinging to him, their small hands warm against his chest. He felt a strange comfort in their presence, and yet the weight of responsibility pressed upon him. The Queen had instructed that the next phase of the ritual would test his courage, wit, and empathy. He knew that failure was not an option. He followed the twins through corridors that shimmered with alien light. The walls pulsed softly, as if alive, and every step seemed to echo in his mind. The twins whispered guidance in their melodic voices, urging him to focus, to trust his instincts, to remain calm. As they led him to a grand hall filled with glowing crystals and floating platforms, Ethan marveled at the sight. The air vibrated with energy, and he realized that this place was a test of both mind and heart. The twins held his hands tightly, and he felt their powers intertwine with his own thoughts. A surge of energy ran through him, as he understood that he could feel their emotions, fear, hope, curiosity, and trust all at once, and he had to navigate them carefully. The first challenge appeared, a series of floating platforms that shifted unpredictably over a deep chasm. Ethan had to cross, relying on balance and intuition. He felt the twins guide him silently, their minds communicating in ways he could not fully comprehend. He stepped carefully, trusting his instincts and the unseen connection that pulled him forward. As he reached the other side, the walls shifted, revealing a maze filled with illusions. Strange images of his past fears and doubts materialized around him. He had to navigate the maze not just physically, but emotionally. Every wrong thought, every doubt created obstacles, and the twins clung to him, urging him to believe in himself, to move with confidence, to trust their bond. Ethan closed his eyes and focused on their warmth, their presence, and slowly the illusions began to fade, showing him the correct path forward. He emerged from the maze exhausted, but resolute, knowing that every step brought him closer to understanding the depth of the bond he shared with Lyra and Luma. The next challenge was unexpected. A holographic representation of the enemy faction that sought to capture the twins appeared. Ethan realized that the ritual was preparing him for real threats. He had to outthink these figures, anticipating their moves using both human intuition and the twins' alien abilities. He moved strategically, relying on their guidance and his quick thinking, creating illusions and traps that confused the enemies. The twins laughed softly, their powers aiding him, and for the first time Ethan felt a thrill of genuine excitement. The final phase of the ritual approached, a chamber filled with a swirling vortex of light and energy. The Queen's presence loomed above, her gaze sharp and unyielding. Ethan felt the weight of expectation pressing down on him. The twins guided him to the center, holding his hands and whispering encouragement. He realized that the ritual was not just a test of skill, but of character. He had to demonstrate compassion, courage, and wisdom. As the vortex intensified, he felt himself being pulled into a deep connection with the palace, the twins, and the energy that flowed through the crystals. Every decision mattered, every thought influenced the outcome. He reached out with empathy, understanding, and determination. And slowly the vortex began to stabilize, his confidence growing with each heartbeat. He felt the twins' trust solidify, forming a bond that was both powerful and unbreakable. Suddenly, the enemy faction attacked the palace, real and menacing. Ethan felt fear surge, but he drew on everything he had learned, the twins' powers and his human ingenuity. He created diversions, using the palace energy, levitating objects, confusing the attackers, and moving with precision and courage. The twins mirrored his actions, their abilities amplifying his own. Together, they outsmarted the invaders, guiding them away from the Queen and neutralizing their threat. For now, the Queen descended to the chamber, her expression unreadable, but Ethan sensed pride in her eyes. She approached and placed her hands on the twins' shoulders, signaling approval. Ethan felt a wave of relief mixed with exhilaration. He had survived the challenges, the ritual, the attacks, and proven himself worthy of the twins' trust. He looked at Lyra and Luma, their eyes bright and shining, their hands still holding his. He realized that he was no longer a visitor or a joke. He was now a part of their world, a guardian and companion. The palace seemed to breathe around him, the walls glowing with light, the crystals pulsing softly, as if acknowledging the new bond that had been formed. The Queen spoke through the twins, telling Ethan that he had shown courage, empathy, and intelligence, qualities rare in humans. She acknowledged that his presence was now intertwined with the twins' destiny and with the future of the palace and its people. Ethan felt a surge of pride, but also a sense of responsibility. He knew that life here would be challenging, filled with unknown dangers and adventures, but he also knew that he was ready for them. The twins led him to the balcony, overlooking the alien city, lights shimmering like stars. Ethan held them gently, their trust in him absolute, and he realized that his joke about being single had changed everything. He had a family, he had purpose, and he had an adventure that spanned worlds and species. The night sky above the palace seemed alive, sending signals he did not understand, but felt intuitively that other civilizations had taken notice of the twins' powers. Ethan's mind raced with possibilities. He had faced danger, deception, and challenges. He had navigated alien rituals and formed a bond unlike anything he had ever imagined. And yet he knew this was only the beginning. The palace doors opened again, and attendants carried new artifacts and messages. Ethan felt a thrill of anticipation, his life now intertwined with the twins and the Queen. He knew that every choice he made would have consequences for them and for the world. He had stepped into a future full of wonder, danger, and mystery, waiting to unfold. The twins rested their heads on his shoulders, their small hands holding his tightly, and Ethan felt a warmth and connection that went beyond words. He understood their fears, hopes, and dreams as if they were his own, and he vowed silently to protect them no matter the challenges that lay ahead. The Queen spoke softly through the twins, reminding Ethan that trust is a bond tested by trials, and he had passed his first and hardest test. Ethan felt a deep sense of accomplishment mixed with humility. He had entered this world as a stranger, and now he was a part of its most precious lives. The palace hummed around him, energy flowing through walls, floors, and ceilings. The twins' laughter echoed softly, a melody of hope and trust. Ethan felt his heart swell. He realized that being chosen was not just honor but responsibility, and he embraced it fully with courage, determination, and love. As the night deepened, Ethan gazed out across the alien City the stars and lights reflecting his own excitement and anticipation, he knew the adventure was far from over. The twins whispered, softly guiding him to rest for the night, and he allowed himself to relax their presence, soothing his mind and spirit. He thought about the journey ahead, the enemies they had fought, the challenges they had faced, and the mysteries that still awaited him. And yet he felt ready. He had faced the unknown, and survived. He had formed a bond with beings far beyond human understanding. He had discovered strength and courage within himself that he had never known. Ethan closed his eyes, feeling the twins' hands in his. He felt peace knowing that he had a family, a purpose, and a world to protect. The Queen's gaze rested on him, approving and proud. He knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges, adventures, and discoveries. But for now, he allowed himself this moment of calm connection and understanding. He had crossed worlds, faced trials, and emerged stronger. He had formed a bond that would define his life and the lives of Lyra and Luma. Forever. The palace shimmered softly, as if acknowledging the bond formed, its energy flowing in harmony with the twins. And Ethan, he felt exhilaration, hope, and determination, all at once, knowing that the journey ahead would be thrilling, dangerous, and full of wonder. He had entered this world with a joke, a simple human statement, and it had led him to destiny, adventure, and connection beyond imagination. The twins whispered one last time before sleep, wrapping their arms around him. Gently, Ethan smiled, feeling the warmth, trust, and bond that had become his new reality. He understood that life here would never be ordinary. Every day would bring new challenges and wonders, and he was ready for all of it. He had survived the rituals, faced the enemies, and proven his worth. He had become part of the alien royal family, a protector, a friend, and a companion. And the stars above seemed to shine brighter, signaling that this was only the beginning of a journey across galaxies. Filled with adventure, discovery, and bonds that would last lifetimes, Ethan drifted into sleep, feeling the energy of the palace, the warmth of the twins, and the promise of a future full of mysteries and excitement waiting to unfold.